Okay, so thanks everyone for joining Biochar Life's webinar this afternoon. We can see there's a few people in the webinar. We'll be able to interact with you a little bit later. But first of all, just wanted to give you a quick brief of what the next kind of hour is about. And initially, it's going to be hearing from our team. So in a minute, I will hand over and you'll hear from our CEO, Jason Highberger. You'll hear from our country manager from Kenya, Mercy, and you'll hear from our global head of training and compliance. So before that, let me just also give a bit of a brief on us. And at the end, we'll give about half an hour of presentations and then give or take half an hour. During that, you can ask questions, but we won't get to those questions until we've got through the three presentations. Then there'll be an opportunity for Q&A where if you've put questions into the chat box, we'll get to those. Myself, Mona, will help facilitate that, and the rest of the team will give some feedback. So please be patient, listen to our great presenters, and we'll get to your Q&A as we get through the session. So for those of you who don't know us, so Biochar Life has been around for a couple of years, but in terms of biochar, we've been around for a lot longer. So we are wholly owned by Warm Heart Worldwide, an NGO, a US NGO that has offices here in Thailand, where I'm based. So, we started as Warm Heart, working with farmers, more than a decade ago, and have trained, somewhere in the region of 20,000 farmers over time in different parts of the world, how to make biochar. Before that transition and setting up Biochar Life as part of Warm Heart Worldwide, where we're now, able to scale this beyond, a few thousand farmers to, many thousands that can work with biochar, generate carbon removal credits and put that biochar back into the land. So I'm not going to say too much. I'm going to leave it to our speakers who I'll kind of interact with as we go through this. So I'm going to hand over to Jason now. And as I say, please ask your questions, but just give us a bit of time to get to them, as we go through the presentations.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And you can go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Our vision and mission, if you had to really encapsulate it in as few words possible, it would be empowering smallholder farmers and healing our planet. Those are some pretty ambitious words, ambitious work that we're doing every single day, but really, it is a part of our DNA. As Matt mentioned, Warm Heart was been operating in Southeast Asia and East Africa for over a decade, working with smallholder farmer communities. And really, that has kind of continued on in the form of Biochar Life. So we wake up as a team every single day thinking about and supporting our smallholder farmers, as well as, figuring out ways to improve the communities' lives that the smallholder farmers live in, as well as hopefully solving climate change along the way. So before we get in too much detail about the business and what we've been doing and what we plan to do, I think it's important for some of the audience members that may not be that familiar with what is biochar, why is it important, and as part of understanding biochar, I think it's important to understand kind of the entire life cycle, because biochar is really kind of a transformation process, if you will, because the carbon removal capabilities of biochar really starts with the plant growing. Mother Nature is happening every day. The farmer is growing their crops, the corn grows, and as it grows and through photosynthesis, it absorbs the CO2. The carbon stays with the plant, and then the oxygen is released, and that's what we breathe. So the carbon capturing piece of carbon removal is actually Mother Nature doing its tremendous work. But then we take the crop away. So after the plant dies or is harvested, we take it through what's called a pyrolysis process, and that is high temperature, very little to no oxygen. So you heat up the biomass through a kiln or other methods to convert that waste biomass into almost pure carbon. So chemically speaking, it's very durable, and it's not re-emitted back into the atmosphere, because if you leave a plant to die naturally, and eventually it'll emit back into the atmosphere. So then you've got CO2 again. So biochar is an amazing way, pyrolysis is an amazing way of locking up that carbon for long periods of time, thousands of years. But once you have biochar, then, sorry, go back up, sorry, Matt. Once you have biochar, it not only is sequestering carbon, but it also has a lot of practical benefits, such as soil fertility. You mix it with manure. It's an amazing biochar fertilizer. It has water retention properties. And ultimately, all of this helps the smallholder farmer in increasing their crop yields, as well as generating an additional income. Go ahead. So hopefully that kind of gives you a backdrop of biochar. So for our business model, Biochar Life's kind of three key aspects of a business is, first off, revenue generation. So we're out there every single day, people like Matt and myself, talking to our channel partners, large companies that want to offset their emissions. And so they want to offset that through carbon removal credits. So we're trying to find buyers, and that's our revenue generation. The second aspect is our training and verification capabilities. Individuals like Mercy, Ohm, Mona, others on the ground, the team on the ground is out there training farmers and verifying what they're doing to ensure that we're producing quality certified carbon removal credits. And Mercy and Ohm will get into more of those details later. So then once we generated the credits and we sell those credits, then we distribute the proceeds to the smallholder farmers as well as the local community. And really, this is kind of a part of our social mission is, certainly addressing climate change, but also, as we stated earlier, supporting these smallholder farmer communities through economic impact. So the majority of the proceeds from credit sales are, delivered back to the farmers and the community. And all of this is transparent. So buyers can come to our portal, to our platform, and see all of this information, pictures, transactions. So it's kind of an open book for us to ensure that, companies trust what we're doing. Go ahead, Matt. As it relates to the market, the carbon removal market is, growing, but specifically the biochar carbon removal market is, even getting more attention just because of its unique capabilities of, quickly removing carbon in a very long and permanent way. So we see rapid expansion occurring in the BCR space. There's also increasing demand from companies, organizations, governments looking for sustainable and scalable solutions for carbon removal. And then finally, especially in the global south, developing countries, soil health and agricultural requirements is also a key piece that the marketplace is looking for solutions. So we kind of tick all of these boxes, and we believe that we're well positioned to capitalize on this market growth. And as you can see there, just the CAGR of 17%, is pretty healthy. And we envision that probably growing as more and more people become aware of biochar and carbon removal. As our unique market advantages, certainly one is scale. We already have established through our work with Warm Heart, Mercy, Sylvester, Ohm, working in these countries, training tens of thousands of farmers over the past 10 years. We already have a strong foothold in smallholder farmers, and you can look up a variety of different stats. There's hundreds of millions of smallholder farmers throughout the world. So huge, huge scale potential, which is what we need to address climate change. The other key advantage that we have versus other solutions is feedstock accessibility. We're working with smallholder farmers. They have their crop that they're growing every single harvest. Sometimes there's 2 harvests a year. So there's practically an infinite supply of feedstock that can be converted into biochar. Thirdly is our verification and technology solution. So we take a lot of pride in this. We've gone through multiple evolutions ourselves, working with our key partners to really evolve our inspection, verification, training procedures, as well as the technology that we use in the field, as well as from a monitoring perspective to ensure that we're doing and giving stakeholders trust in our solution. And then last, but definitely not least, is our community integration. It really is important to have strong relationships with the local community, elders, village leaders, government officials working in these communities, because they have to trust us as well, and support us as we continue to grow. So again, due to our tenure within these communities, this gives us also a very solid advantage. Moving on to our strategic partners, certainly takes a lot of support to do this. We haven't done this alone. So we're very thankful and grateful for our strategic partners, Carbon Standards International, along with the Ithaca Institute. They are certainly the keepers of the methodology, but their team has worked with us to evolve the methods and procedures that we deploy to ensure that we're delivering quality credits. Plant Village, an amazing innovation lab out of Penn State University, led by Dr. David Hughes. We've been working with them because they've been supporting smallholder farmers longer than we have on helping them with food security and diseases, but also they have embraced biochar, and they have amazing technology, leveraging AI capabilities already to support monitoring, reporting, and verification. On the financial front, we're thankful for our ground up investing partner. This is an impact investment group from Quartz International. So large NGO that's operating throughout the world, supporting a lot of impoverished communities. So we're very thankful for their financial support to help us scale. And then Carbon Future, Carbon Future has been a great strategic partner with helping us engage end buyers, but also providing that extra level of traceability for those buyers to ensure that what we're delivering is accurate. So very thankful for our strategic partners as we've evolved. On the community engagement and impact, we really think of the community as a critical aspect of an organization. Our farmers, most of our individuals that work for us come from the communities. So we really try to provide them with a lot of resources and training to provide sustainable farming practices, but also improve their lives. Really, we try to provide and develop strong resilience within these communities. Definitely trying to empower women. A majority of our farmers, majority of our personnel are women. So we really try to support gender equality as part of our efforts. Mercy will get into more detailed real life examples of this in her part of the presentation, but the improved livelihoods, the multiplier effect is immense with this project, immense with this business. I mean, there are so many case studies that we've seen, the material impact, the lives that have changed through bringing this carbon credits, carbon financings to these communities. It's just amazing. So we are really improving lives in a very, very significant way. So on the strategic initiatives, we're certainly not standing still. We're always trying to engage more farmers. So in East Africa and Southeast Asia, we continue our expansion work. We're aiming to, work with over 1,000 farmers by the end of this year, probably employing nearly 100 people. So really delivering some solid impact. We're rolling out more enhanced verification services, which will get into a little bit later. Just again to provide more confidence to the buyers that what we're saying we're doing, we're actually doing, as well as just ensuring that we're delivering a quality biochar and sequestering carbon. So we're launching into Indonesia this summer. Actually, that's already started. And we continue to grow our expansion into Thailand, as well as built out a nice relationship or MOU with Siam Concrete Group, which is looking to deploy biochar as a concrete amendment. On the R&D front, we continue to do joint development with Plant Village, Carboneers, some great organizations that are always trying to improve the DMRV as well as CH4 monitoring. And then we're also taking a hard look at piloting some higher tech pyrolysis equipment. So that's also on the front of R&D. Recent achievements the last few months. Hats off to Matt and our team on securing more carbon credit sales through our partner Climate.co. Our Kenya team just earlier this year delivered almost 2,000 credits to Carbon Future, supporting Swiss Ray. So they continue to look to our credits as a way to offset their emissions, which we're extremely thankful for. So our sales activities, our production activities continue to produce some very good results. We also are ensuring every year that we're audited in each one of our countries. So we just wrapped up our second audit in Thailand. We've been audited twice already in Africa. So we continue to raise the bar and meet the bar expectations of what we're doing. And finally, we're also continuing to get some pretty solid commitments from additional investors. So I think that we're pretty proud of what we've achieved this first half of the year. And then on the left-hand side, if you haven't had a chance, check out cdr.fyi. It's a nice reporting solution and service that looks at all durable carbon removal, and Biochar Life continues to be in the top 10 of that. So I think that we're really showing the world that what we're doing is very, very impactful. So I'll wrap up here with the investment opportunity. So we have secured some investments like with ground up investing, but we thought that it would be advantageous to also look for investors or engage investors with crowdfunding. So this is a great opportunity to support smallholder farmers, support communities. And I think crowdfunding is a great way of doing that, because everybody should be involved in addressing climate change and helping the world. So we believe that this investment opportunity is very impactful for those that are interested. The terms is 2x return on capital. So if you put in $100, you'll get $200 back. That's basically what that means. The payback is based on a percentage of sales, 2% of sales. So as the company generates money, you will be your repayment will be based on that. Based on our estimates for sales over the next few years, we expect a payback in 5 to 7 years. These are estimates, though, so I mean, actual results may not be guaranteed, but this is what we're projecting. And then you start to get your repayments, quarterly. So you don't have to wait 5 to 7 years. You'll start to get your proportional share of repayment starting after the first quarter after you've made your investment. So you can visit our WeFunder webpage or campaign page for more details, or email us afterwards if you have any more questions. So hopefully that wasn't too fast, and look forward to any questions that the audience has now or afterwards, and appreciate everybody's time.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Jason. I think you were almost bang on the time, maybe a few minutes over. All good. So we're not gonna be too stringent on pulling people off. But yeah, just something I think clarify my comments at the beginning as I listened to your presentation. You know, I talked about Warm Heart and the fact we have, you know, trained 20,000 or so farmers, if not more. You know, our Biochar Life program, we're working with you know, we're looking to work with 1,000 this year. It is really wholly dependent on, you know, the sale of credits and also the investment into our business, because yes, we've trained 20,000 farmers, but bringing them into the program is about the carbon removal side of what we do, the credits, you know, the generation of that business model. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that point. I'll hand over to Mercy in a minute, just to let everyone know, I don't think there's anything in the Q&A, but everyone should see a Q&A, you know, little window on your Zoom window. So please do put your questions in there so we can get to them, you know, as we get through these presentations. Please ask us, anything is game. We're here to kind of answer questions on all of the work we do. So what I'll do is I'll hand over to Mercy now. Mercy is our country manager based out of Kenya. Not our only country managers, also Sylvester in Malawi. So we have country managers in each region. Today, we're joined by Mercy, who's going to talk to us a little bit more about the on-ground activities that she sees and the teams she works with. So Mercy, I'll hand over and let you continue from here.
Thank you, Matt, for the opportunity. Maybe I'll start by introducing myself so that people can get to know who I am and what I do at Biochar Life. So my name is Mercy Awuor Ogembo. I'm the country manager at Biochar Life Kenya, and I'm responsible for overall overseeing all our activities related to biochar in Kenya, which include biochar production and application, with the goal of ensuring that we meet the company's set target standards and goals. And also I manage the verifier team and the coordinators who work directly with the farmers on the ground. And in this forum, I'll just love to share with you the success of Biochar Life in Kenya, working with farmers, smallholder farmers, and also the steps that has contributed or have made us realize this very success. So that's it for the introduction. As the country manager, I don't operate as an island. I have a team that I work with. As the country manager, I have my assistant. Then I have 2 coordinators for now, but we are expanding. Then I've also been working with 20 verifiers who work directly with 400 farmers in the last production. But in this coming production, we'll be working with 4 new coordinators full-time, 67 verifiers. And we are hopeful that we'll also add more farmers to have 800 farmers. So our teams in Kenya, we operate actively in 4 sub-counties in Kenya. Though our trainings, we've gone beyond the 4 sub-counties, but those in the carbon credit exercise are actively operating in 4 sub-counties, namely Kisumu West sub-county in Kisumu County. We have Rachuonyo North sub-county, that is in Homa Bay County, Game sub-county in Siaya County, and Alego Usonga sub-county in Siaya County. In all those areas, we have 5 verifiers each for the just concluded production, and we have 100 farmers per sub-county, giving us a total of 400 farmers, a total of 20 verifiers, and a total of 2 coordinators who help me run our management team. In Kenya, as I've said, I will be sharing some of our successes and the steps that have contributed to that success. For us to reach where we are as Biochar Life Kenya and to work with our farmers, down from training them, making follow-ups, and finally enrolling them in the carbon credit, it is not a task that I just do in the office where I'm seated. The first thing that has contributed to our success is building trust with our farmers through the honest practices and our procedures in how we operate. Once we train you, we do follow-ups. Then when we want to enroll you for the carbon credit exercises, there are key things that have made us realize this and the trust of the farmers, hence the success I'm talking about. We pick our farmers from those that we've trained in person. In Kenya, we've trained over 7,000 farmers. So when you want to enroll in our carbon credit exercise or our Singh program, you are appointed from those that we've already trained. Then we ensure that you have enough biomass that will help you make the required tons of biochar. Once we want to enroll you, we are always transparent enough. We'll issue you with a farmer declaration form. That is the first thing that has built the trust between Biochar Life and the smallholder farmers that we are operating with. So what is entailed in this farmer declaration form? In this form, it is clear the farmer declares that he or she will not practice open field burning because our motto is stop burning in open air. So in the farmer declaration form, it is clear and they state that they will not do open air burning. Before they even sign it, we translate it to them so that they understand what is entailed in that farmer declaration form. The farmer agrees that the land that he or she will be using is his or belongs to a neighbor or belongs to one of his relatives, and it is this particular acre. Another form that has contributed to the trust between Biochar Life and the farmers is the farmer agreement form. What is entailed in this farmer agreement form? We've already selected or elected you from the list of those we've trained. We are now incorporating you into our program. The farmer agreement form clearly states that you are getting into a contract with Biochar Life as a client. It also states what is the quantity of the biochar you will make. If it is 3 tons, it is stated in the farmer agreement form. That farmer agreement form also states your M-Pesa number. That is where you will be getting your payment, how you will get your payment after your production and application and approval by the respective schemes. It also states how much you will be paid. So from the onset, the farmer is sure, or it is clear to the farmer that I will make 3 tons of biochar as a contract with Biochar Life. I will be paid electronically through my M-Pesa line. I will not be paid in cash, so I'm sure I'll get my full amount because I'll get it electronically. I will be paid this particular amount so that the moment your phone rings for payment and you get less, then you're sure the country manager might have done something, which never happens because all the money gets to the farmers. So when the farmer has read all that with our translation again, the farmer now signs and the witness also signs. The witness is a family member or a friend that the farmer trusts. That has confidently helped us work freely with our farmers because from the onset of everything, we are transparent enough. Then another powerful tool that has got us this far is the conflict of interest declaration form. This is signed by the verifiers. So the verifiers are the ones who are working directly with the farmers on the ground. So in that conflict of interest declaration form, the verifier declares that he has no vested interest in this particular activity, and while working with the farmers, she'll be working as per what her contract letter states. This also builds the trust between the farmers, the verifiers, and Biochar Life as a tool. So these are the 3 powerful documents at Biochar Life that has brought us this far, that has made us work transparently with the farmers, that has made us beat the deadline and get to our set goals at the right time because the farmers trust us enough. We can also not talk about biochar in Kenya, Biochar Life activities, without talking of the benefits that biochar has brought to the smallholder farmers. The benefits are vast, but the first thing that convinced the farmer that indeed this is a powerful tool, or this is a one-of-a-kind thing, is how it helps to fix the soil structure. By using biochar, the farmers have attested to the fact that there is improvement in their soil structure because they are using biochar, which is a soil amendment. As a result of this improvement in the soil structure, they have realized an increase in crop yields. Our farmers have proven to us beyond doubt that ever since they began using biochar as a manure after mixing it with the farmyard manure in the right portion or in the right ratio of 1:4, there have been an increase in their crop yields. Farmer Rispa, who grows cowpeas, before that, he used to only get enough for the family, but now she gets so much and even sells others to the market. Increase in crop production for those who mix biochar with the chicken feeds in the right ratio. Increase in milk production for the farmers who sprinkle biochar where the cows sleep in the cow sheds. and even mixing it with the water that they drink to the required ratio. They have talked or they have testified of increase in milk production. Some other benefits beyond this we'll discuss later as we continue with the discussion. I've just talked of Farmer Rispa, and here she is. So this is from the voices of those we help. And Farmer Rispa talks of having been making and using biochar for over a year. That is, I think this was in 2018. So he has seen more improvements in her crops, and most importantly, increased income because she gets surplus to sell to the market. She also participated in our first pilot before they were now finally enrolled for the carbon credit exercise. Rispa says that biochar is good. It has brought wonderful results. The cowpeas that I get enough and also sell others to the market faster. This in turn gives her the income for other needs. Biochar is surely a blessing. And from the team, that is just a snapshot of those we work with and what we do and how far we go. Back to you, Matt. I hope I'll talk more as the episode unfolds. Thank you.
Thank you, Mercy. It's always good listening to you talk about the work on the ground. And yeah, I didn't mean to cut you short on the slides there. We're getting a bit short on time, and I can see some questions kind of stacking up. So I will be brief and hand over. And probably just with the time, we're kind of now eating into the Q&A time, but maybe, we can get you to do kind of 10 minutes. So is our global head of development and compliance. She's also the co-founder of Biochar Life and has been with Warm Heart for a while. I won't say how long. I think it's probably between 10 and 15 years, so quite a while. So definitely has all the knowledge and all the experience. And I'll hand over and maybe if we can just go through for the next 10 minutes, then we can get on to some Q&A, in terms of answering some of the questions.
Okay, thank you, Matt, and all attending. Welcome you all. So yeah, my name is Kwanpiromtara. I'm Thai, but right now I'm in Malawi. I oversee Biochar Life project across 5 countries in Asia and Africa. Yeah, so I work with Warm Heart worldwide 15 years. I'm on Biochar 9 years in total. I start from, initiative the training guideline to farmers who are don't know anything about biochar until they know what is the biochar, why it's important, and then how to use the biochar and what is the benefit they get. After that, I had faced that, we should have the way to follow up so that when the time monitoring system comes, before we even state it's calling the MRV. Yeah, what is the tracking or monitoring that right now? So this is the common question I get. We are tracking from where the biomass comes from, how they prepare the biomass. We monitor during the making biochar, quality and quantity of biochar by checking on site, which is we have equipment and we send verifier on site every day with farmer. Then after we know amount of biochar farmer produce each day and quality of them, when they are going to apply them and where and how. So all of that is being tracking before confirm and verify. So next, please. Yeah, to monitoring is not just to ensure that we have strong, evidence that farmer is making. It's also the way that we know each farmer, how they're doing, how they certify, what is the way that they can improve. And also this, we are delivering additional information about how they should maintain and taking care of their crop to get better yield in the future. All of these monitor, we ensure that we align with the CSI standard. And we had, regular feedback from the verifier and also from the audit from the standard side. Yeah. Like this. Yeah. So biochar quality is really important. As I mentioned earlier, we have the equipment to do on-site checking, and also we work with the local lab to send the biochar sample, and we also send the sample of the biochar to accredited laboratory under the CSI standard every year. So, yeah. The application right now, we are collaborating with the Plant Village Biochar app. Glad, thanks this team to develop it's real time, it's geo-tag. We know when exactly and where biochar had produced and what time, what date. The observer or farmer cannot change any detail, and it's a timestamp for every photos or every step we track before we verify and then generate certificate. So yeah, that is all about verifications and monitorings. I would love to hear more from the Q&A for this system.
So thank you everyone for being patient. I'm glad to see, well, thank you first to our speakers. I'm glad to see, it's always good on a webinar when numbers are going up, not down. So I'm glad we started at 42 and we're at 47. So that's always a good sign. So thanks everyone. I was going to ask a few more questions, but I think we've got a bit in the Q&A, and I think the best way to handle this is really, we'll look at some of the questions and kind of interact as a team really, and kind of see what's there. Mona, I don't know whether you've already had a good look at what might be worth answering first.
Yeah, I mean, there are 8 questions. I think we can answer them all. I think we have 15 minutes, I guess.
Yeah, we do. We've got 15 minutes, so all good.
Right. So we can start from the question 1 to just
Cool.
go in the order. Yeah.
Start at the bottom. Do I scroll down or I scroll up? Okay, cool. So, someone was asking if we'd recorded the session. I believe I have recorded. I hope it recorded. Yes, it's recording. So I will, I will share that afterwards. So let's look at that. Have you had any trials on different crops, and what challenges have you experienced during the trials, and what solutions have you adopted? This is probably and do you want to kind of lead with this?
Sure. Yeah, so yes, definitely, because I had tried with many biomass. I don't know what you specifically, but coconut, maize, coffee, any kind of tree, macadamia, leaf, rice, elephant poop, bamboo. So each of biomass, they have different character, and you should know the technique of them. The 3 main factors to have the quality of biochar is 1, you know what the character and how to prepare the biomass well. 2, you design proper technology, pyrolysis or T-load or gasification for it. And then 3, a person who produce biochar need experience, practice. That's the 3 factors I can recommend.
Cool. This is probably a good segue into the next question. You can see the questions, right? So uses of biochar are limitless. However, deployment as soil amendment is still a science in progress. In many crops, I've seen that more biochar per acre is needed than actual biomass is produced by the crop within that acre. If farmers want to use that bio produced by our residues, what resources for soil deployment recipes are recommended, and how to deal with the massive recommended amounts? It's a fair bit in that question.
This is tricky a little bit. So yeah, I mean, it's not just the biochar quality now, but what are you charging the biochar with? and what is your soil type, because you need to know that first. So for example, if your soil, the pH is 4, and your plant that need 7, now you know what is your biochar pH. So you have to find that gap and then come with how much that plant need and what you have in the soil right now before you make decisions on applications amount. And also, biochar is not fertilizer. It need to be charging, it need NPK, it need micronutrients, and also it need microorganisms. So you need to work on application based on soil and plant.
And you may want to share with the group a little bit what we're doing like in East Africa to charge the biochar and stuff. I mean, so we're using locally available inputs like manure and such to do that. So
right. So yeah, whatever like manure, you can make liquid fertilizer from plant, that have a lot of nitrogen, ureans that also available. So you have to look around what is there, in your communities.
I think that the other aspect to that question is yes, a lot of these farms are depleted of quality soil. So this isn't like you have enough biochar for one season and you're done. This is an ongoing application, especially in some of these developing countries. So we certainly encourage the farmers to do the right recipes, as it was saying, the right mixture of like manure to biochar. But every season they need to continue to produce biochar and put that into their soil for many, many years. And that just continues to strengthen the quality of the soil and ultimately the production of their crops.
Cool. Next question. What is the maximum amount of biochar a farmer can produce a year if he has a ready available biomass all year round? And do we have yearly targets of production? Let me answer half of this and then hand over to Mercy, because I think the way we work is not really about having biomass all year round. We work to harvest. So depending on the harvest and the dry seasons is where we're working with farmers that have crop waste, because in every situation that we're working with farmers, it is dealing with their crop waste and teaching them how to turn that into biochar. So, we're not really, at least in most of our work, in a model of all year round biomass. But do we have yearly targets of production? Most certainly around those harvests. And that is really driven as much by demand as supply, because, we really have an unlimited kind of supply of farmers out there. And depending on the demand, we can go out and produce more biochar and work with more farmers. But Mercy, maybe you just want to add a little bit to that to talk about in terms of the real life of what, how much do these farmers produce in terms of, the harvest when we're working with them? What are the kind of forecasts and the tons that they're producing of biochar?
Thank you, Matt. Our farmers, if I would talk about how much they make for the Singh program, is different from what they make normally. But now I'm talking about what we monitor and verify. So our farmers make 3 tons in each production. So the 3 tons is equivalent of 3,000 kilograms. And for the farmer to produce the 3 tons, we ensure that the farmer has enough biomass to produce 3 tons of biochar. So before they start the production, after they're done with the production and they've planted, our verifiers do the farm survey. That is, at the farm survey part is when they capture all the farm sizes of the farmers that will enable them make the 3 tons of biochar. So from the surveys, for the farmer to produce 3 tons, the farmer needs roughly 9 acres to produce 3 tons of biochar. Thank you, Matt.
One thing to point out is we're using corn stalk as the feedstock in East Africa. So the quantity of biochar also varies by the crop waste that you're using. So what Mercy was sharing, that in the case of corn stalk, the farmer needs to grow about 6 to 9 acres of corn stalk to produce 3 tons of biochar. That has been our observation and results, thus far. But if they're have like corn cob or tree prunings, those ratios change. So just another point of clarification.
Well, next question from Dorothea. So as far as I get it, the smallholder farmers profit from training with the result that their harvests are improved by using biochar in their soils, and they also profit financially. If so, what proportion of the profit from carbon credit trade ends up in the farmer's hands? So, yeah, Dorothy, you're exactly right. So our business model, is to, and actually we're very socially focused. So we're about working with these farmers and really putting as much as we can back into that community. So, we train the farmers to create biochar. We train them to charge that biochar. We train them how to put it back into the soil. All of those processes are tracked, and we pay them for the production of that biochar. So, and we do that up front before we recoup our funds via the sale of credits. Around 60%, it does depend on the region and the harvest and various other elements, but around 60 to 70% goes back into the community. The other piece here as well is that we employ our verifiers from the community. So as well as working with farmers and paying farmers for production of biochar, which is additional income to their their farming, we're also employing verifiers within that community and trying to kind of maintain that kind of social impact with what we do. I don't know if anyone else, Jason, whether you want to add anything to that. Otherwise, we can get on. I don't know whether I kind of covered it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're hitting on a key point. So, 60 to 70% of every dollar that comes from carbon credit sales either ends up in the hands of a farmer or our local team, verifiers, country managers, trainers. So, and our goal in 5 years is 80% of every dollar goes into the local community and farmers. So, this again goes back to our social mission, being 100% owned by Warm Heart, so that we're really trying to direct as much of the carbon credits and financing back into these local communities.
So the second part of the question was, are we creating employment opportunities for regional auditors and IT professionals? Not. It's an interesting question. Not exactly. I mean, we have an auditing process, but that is done by a third party that's from elsewhere. So it's not. But IT professionals, I suppose. I mean, ultimately, our verifiers, our verifiers are using our DMRV platform, and actually, the more that we look to extend our social impact, the more we're looking to do that. So there's two bits to that. I think, Jason, you were going to say something around that, were you?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I think in the context of the question, maybe Dorothy is thinking something else, but an auditor, our verifiers are an auditor. I mean, they're independent, they're trained, they're following our procedures, they are not the farmer. And so the answer is yes, we are creating employment opportunities, and we take that very seriously, and we're very focused on that because we believe that these employment opportunities does create a multiplier effect, just like supporting the smallholder farmers.
Cool. Anastasia, and it sounds like these questions are for Mercy. We may want to try, and some of this we've touched on, and there's a lot there. There's almost a whole Zoom call in this next question, but maybe let me try and kind of laser this down to one thing. I mean, how are carbon credits determined? I think we've talked about that. Do you feel biochar has been adopted adequately by the farmers? Brief us on the process of biochar. Do you have something concerning biochar? I think maybe, Mercy, do you want to talk a little bit about the community here and how I think to the second point there, has it been adopted adequately? But also, what does it mean to these communities? What does biochar mean to these farmers, to the people that you see every day working with it? And hopefully that'll cover some of it. And Anastasia, sorry if we don't get to all those points. I think we've touched on some of them anyway, but maybe Mercy can dig in a bit and kind of give you the empathy side of, what it means to these farmers.
Thank you, Matt. So the question is, what is biochar to the farmers, right?
Yeah, I think that will help to answer some of this. Yeah, for sure.
So biochar to our smallholder farmers that we work with in the communities. When you ask them, what is biochar to you? They'll always respond, biochar is a farmer's best friend. So to our farmers, the definition of biochar is, it is a farmer's best friend. And why do they consider it their best friend? One, it has improved their soil structure. And that's why they're realizing increase in crop yields. That's why they're realizing increase in milk production for their cows, increase in egg production. And they cannot fail to always mention the little bonus that comes with the payment from the carbon credit. That's what makes it overall a farmer's best friend. So they have seen so much benefit in using biochar, and in all their forums, they'll always employ that slogan. They have the slogan in their native language. They have the slogan in Swahili. They have the slogan in English. So to them, when you ask them, what is biochar to you? They'll not go into those other scientific nitty-gritties of what biochar is, but they usually sum it up as a farmer's best friend.
Cool, thanks. Anastasia, I don't know if you just there's an email address on the invitation, hello@biochar.life. If you want to put some of those more specific geographical questions in there, we can, directly connect you with Mercy and she can have more conversations, I think, rather than going into all the kind of exact points there. Just a time check. It's 4:30 Thailand time. Different time everywhere else, but it is the hour. But let's keep going. But obviously, people, please feel free to drop off if you have something else on. But I think we should probably just try and get through the rest of these questions. Yeah, thank you for those that have to drop off. For attending. If anyone wants to stay on, we'll just kind of try and get through these last questions. I think we'll do it now, which is probably the best way to do it. So maybe this is elaboration on the 1:4 mixing ratio, probably on. I don't know how much the elaboration is, but I think you probably talked about it in your presentation.
What is that question? 1:4?
Yeah, I assume that is
The biochar mixing with
yeah.
fertilizer and manure. But I think we have talked about this already,
Yeah,
kind of.
four parts manure or inputs to 1 part biochar. I mean, that's what the mixing ratio is. But that's in the case if you're using manure. So to Om's earlier comment, depending on what input you're using to charge the biochar, you'll need, and as well as the soil health already, you'll need to adjust. But in the cases of East Africa, our training has predominantly been 4 parts manure to 1 part biochar for quality biochar fertilizer.
Yeah. By volume, not by weight, by volume.
Cool. This is an interesting one for whoever's the most scientific of us on the call. What is the scientific relationship between biochar and livestock products such as milk and eggs? Interesting question.
Good question.
Good question. Yeah, I mean, yes, they do have research on that. But obviously, I'm not expert on egg and milk production. I'm not predatorist. I done some tests with the egg farm. Chicken growing, faster than normal feed, and they produce bigger egg and higher increasing amount of egg per periods of time.
Yeah, I think it's the application of biochar with livestock is pretty amazing. You can mix a little bit of it with their feed, and as Om was mentioning, it improves their health, the health of the animal, the health of the eggs, the quantity of the eggs. It also reduces the smell and diseases. So if you lay it down on the ground, certainly is good for that. So Again, we typically don't use it for livestock applications today. It is permitted within the standard, and there are lots of people that use it. So as Om was mentioned, there's a lot of research. So it's pretty cool. I mean, biochar, you can use it in a variety of different ways. So
yes, I think we've got you. If you want to find our YouTube channel, you will find a video there of one farmer in Malawi that's using it in animal feed. And I think talks very briefly, but specifically about that stuff. So is biochar harmful for humans? I mean, biochar is a great way of removing carbon and you know, making the air better, reducing smoke. I suppose it depends. You know, I don't know if it's advisable to be kind of eating biochar like you can mix with animal feed. I've not heard of a use case of human feed, but I don't know any case of biochar as a product being harmful as such. I don't know, Jason, where that question's quite coming from. So whether I'm answering it correctly, but
yeah, I mean, I guess it's a very good question. I think it's almost alluding to it in another question of, you know, you really need to understand your feedstock that you're using to make biochar. So if your feedstock has like heavy metals in it, and you make biochar from that, then that heavy metals would reside still in the biochar. Now, in some situations, that's a good thing. It locks up that heavy metals, and so it doesn't seep into the soil. But you know, so it is a very good question, and really understanding the source of your feedstock that you make biochar will really kind of dictate the, you know, any potential issues. You certainly don't want to consume it, but you know, if you're using crop waste that you're growing from your own field, then you know it's not going to have any heavy metals in it. You know, it's all safe. We also send our biochar samples to labs, so it does test for these types of things. So that's an extra step that we always take. But again, if you're a group out there in the audience that's looking to get involved with biochar, really you just want to make sure where's your feedstock coming from, and is it clean, relatively speaking, where you make it and put it into the soil.
cool. Thanks, Amar, for that question. So Tiratat, so thank you for an amazing session. Thank you also. Thanks for everyone. I've seen that some biochar requires specific machine to proceed. You provide the farmer with specific machines such as pyrolysis machines. It's a good question. We probably touched on it in various elements of the presentation, and I think everyone on here can answer it. I'll give it a little bit from my perspective. So, you know, part of the artisan standard that we work to, which is really about enabling individual farmers distributed within the field. So with most of our farmers, we are teaching them to create biochar inside a soil pit that they dig out with specific measurements like you would see within a kiln. And, you know, that will mean that one farmer has that pit that they're making biochar within. But there is also, as part of the standard, what we call Kentucky style kilns that we're using here in Thailand. There's various different designs. So they're flame curtain kilns. They're different specifications as long as they come within the standard. But ultimately, it is a you know, a technology that we're able to use with smallholder farmers without needing electricity, with being able to be distributed within these kind of regional areas of the countries we're in. There is, of course, lots of other pyrolysis equipment out there. There's lots of high-tech equipment. There's different methodologies. So I'm just talking to you about really the way that, you know, the way that we do it, which is very focused on enabling that individual farmer as much as possible. Still a few more here, are there? Okay. About biochar production for long-term projects. This is Frederick. Like tree planting, what's the application ratio you would recommend per tree? That's a good question. And I don't know, probably Om, you want to jump in on this one?
I would say 20 to 25 kg per year per tree. And put it, per year, and put it in the surface that where the leaf is ending, because that's where the root are.
Cool. And the only other part of here, accredited labs. So we don't, we do have to lab test all of our biochar. There isn't an accredited lab in Kenya right now, but that is something that we are working on and speaking to local universities. So we use different labs. There's one in KL, there's one just opened in India. So, you know, that's something we're kind of leading in terms of looking in Kenya. I don't know whether anyone on the production side wants to answer anything else there, but. Elia, I assume I pronounce it. I wish to understand how the quantity of your biochar for carbon credits, is it produced biochar at pyrolysis or the biochar applied to the ground? Go on.
Yeah, I got
Mona,
that
we should
question.
maybe let Mona please also chip in if you'd like to chip in. I want to make sure everyone at least has a word, but.
So, okay, you are, for the carbon credit count, you are count at the carbon organic in the biochar, because the biochar you see now is not 100% carbon. There are other elements in that. Again, the percentage of that is depend on how you produce them and what is your feedstock type. We will calculate from that, see organic in the biochar once they apply, and that's how you will calculate for carbon credit.
The carbon credit isn't generated until the biochar physically goes into the ground. And once we verify that, that is officially carbon has been sequestered. So even if you produce biochar, if it's sitting in a bag, there is not a carbon credit there. It has to physically go into the soil or cement or you know, livestock feed. So it's got to be applied.
So Esther, by the way, can other people see these questions? It's not just me, is it? Or just Mona? Can the rest of the team see them as we answer them?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just don't want people getting sick of my voice. The audience probably will be soon. So Esther, I understand during pyrolysis, there are emissions that take place and the standards that we have to compensate these emissions. How do you deal with this? It's a great question. Maybe I'll let you lead off with it, Jason.
Sure. So there is emissions. One way we definitely deal with it is we prepare the feedstock and ensure that the farmers have dried the feedstock. So as part of our process, every single time a farmer makes biochar, we are ensuring that it's dry, less than 15%. There's been independent studies and experiments by Dr. Cornelissen and others that if the feedstock is less than 15% moisture, the amount of methane emissions is very, very low. Also, the farmer needs to make the biochar correctly as well. So the other way that we compensate for any emissions is really twofold under the standard. Number one, we are preventing open field burning. So the typical practice of a farmer is they burn their open field to get rid of the crop waste. So by preventing that, that actually has more emission potential than pyrolysis. Secondly, we apply a security margin of 3%. So when we do our carbon accounting, when we calculate the CO2 that is considered for the equivalent of the credit, we take a 3% security margin as well. So these factors go into the, if you will, the compensating of the emissions that occur throughout the entire process. I think the final note here to the question is the other part of our credits is we only sell the durable part of the carbon. In other words, if you make 1 ton of biochar, there is considered the short-term or semi-permeatic carbon, and then there's the permanent carbon. And 25% is semi, and the remaining 75% is permanent. Why that's important is that, again, independent studies have proven this, and we can send these later, but the 75% of the biochar that goes into the ground essentially stays in that form forever. I mean, it's thousands, if not millions of years, depending on which study. So it's truly durable long-term carbon removal. And so that is the part that we value our credits from. So, so that's the other piece to keep in mind.
Well, I think the questions keep coming. So I think just in in light of time and the fact we're 15 minutes over, and I know other people have got things to get on with, we're probably going to have to answer these questions directly offline, which we're happy to do for people. So I will kind of coordinate that. You can also contact any of us at the email address hello@biochar.life. Jason, just want to have a quick look if there's anything that's probably easy to answer now that you think is important. Otherwise, we can kind of take them offline and answer separately.
I'm doing a quick scan. I mean, just really good questions, but yeah, I think that hopefully we touched on some of the key ones, but we'll definitely follow up either with a blog post or some type of communication to the attendees with, a summary of our responses to these questions. I think there's a little bit of overlap, so that's encouraging. But no, appreciate everybody's time. Certainly appreciate the questions. Certainly by the looks of some of these questions, people are quite keen on biochar and these projects, so it's great. I mean, we need that for the world, for smallholder farmers. So, certainly reach out if you have any questions.
Cool. I'm just going to try and get there you go. I've just got a copy of the question. So, look, thanks a lot. We're gonna we'll finish here. Appreciate everyone joining. It looks like we had between kind of 40 and 50 participants, which is very encouraging. And yeah, please keep reaching out. And if you're a buyer, please come and talk to us about investing in our credits. And if you're an investor, please come and talk to us about investing in our programs, because we're a social enterprise trying to make a difference, and it takes support from the community of people that invest and also buy our credits. So yeah, thanks very much, and thanks to all the team for taking part as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody. Have a
Thank
good
you
day.
for joining. Bye.